Hi, this is Senator Cameron Bartolotta, and welcome to Focus on the 46th. Today we have a very special edition honoring our veterans. Veterans Day is coming up soon, and no better place than to share with you a wonderful, wonderful jewel of Washington County, and that is the National Cemetery of the Alleghenies. I think you're going to be very impressed. Thanks for joining me. We're right here at a very, very beautiful and historic cemetery, the National Cemetery of the Alleghenies. And I'm right here with Ron, the administrator here of the cemetery. We're going to have a tour. We're going to learn a lot about the history and so many more details that a lot of you probably don't know. So thanks for joining us.
Oh, it's an honor and a privilege. You know, I always welcome the opportunity to talk about the cemetery and our commitment to the veterans and their families. We had talked a little bit before, and we had talked about the history a little bit.
Yeah.
And just to kind of give you kind of an overview of where we come from and why, how we got here. In 1862 is when we started.
Wow.
When Abraham Lincoln went to Congress and said, well, we need money so that we can build cemeteries and provide an honorable and dignified burial for our soldiers that were dying in combat. And of course, Congress agreed. And they funded the first cemetery. So the 14 cemeteries were built, and then we evolved from there. Now, one of the things that I want to make a distinction about is there's several different national cemeteries.
Okay.
There's 135 national cemeteries that are run by the Department of Veteran Affairs.
Okay.
There's two national cemeteries that are run by the Army. And they are Arlington and the Soldiers and Airmen's Home in Washington, D.C. And then there's 14 cemeteries that are run by the Department of Interior, which like Yorktown and Gettysburg. And then there's the American Battle Monument Commission that runs our cemeteries overseas.
Okay.
So sometimes they all get lumped in the same category, but they are all national cemeteries, but they operate a little differently. So when I talk about national cemeteries, it's going to be specifically about those run by the Department of Veteran Affairs, which is what we are here in the National Cemetery of the Alleghenies.
Okay.
The Army, as I mentioned, the War Department started the cemetery system. And in 1973, by law, they turned over 82 cemeteries to the Department of Veteran Affairs.
82?
82.
Across the whole country?
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And at that time, the Department of Veteran Affairs had 21 national cemeteries, and they were located mainly around hospitals. So at that time, we had 103.
Wow. All right.
So that's kind of how we evolved and came to where we are today.
And I don't know if any of you can hear in the distance the bagpipes. There's a service going on today for a veteran. You have so many services. It seems like almost every day there's something going on here.
Total burials that we have here are over 12,300 to date.
Goodness.
Of course, we consider every veteran here a hero.
Absolutely.
And they are interred with honor, and they are truly why we're here.
Absolutely. And all the different services throughout the year that you have too. And we'll talk more about that, but there's so many wonderful, beautiful services that happen right here in this cemetery. Veterans Day, Memorial Day, and the wreaths across America. We'll talk about all of that as we go. But just some wonderful, beautiful ceremonies that happen right here all throughout the year to honor our veterans and their families.
Right, and that's part of our mission is and that's part of our mission to honor the veterans. When we conduct the interment, every interment was done with honor and dignity. And one of the things that we do here, there are services or interments that are conducted without services throughout the year for various reasons. Maybe the family's not located here, or there are no family. But we have a monthly moment of remembrance. It's the first Wednesday of every month at 9 a.m. where we will read the names, and then we will have military honors for those veterans. So every veteran receives honors, which I think is absolutely important. I mean, I'm a retired Marine.
Well, God bless you for your service.
Thank you, I appreciate that. and I come from a long line of veterans, so it's very important. One of the things that I want to note also is my staff, we're at 88% veterans.
Really?
Which is very
That's wonderful.
significant.
Right. They know.
Exactly. Yeah. That's well said. Because we've walked in those shoes and those boots, so we understand what the veteran has encountered and the sacrifices that they made. So we just have a relationship there.
That means so much.
Absolutely.
Where was the very first section of the cemetery?
Well, our
opened
first
up?
section, Senator, was Section 1, was just to the right of the flagpole.
Okay.
That was our first casket section when we were doing interments. And we had talked a little bit about the different types of interments that we offer here.
Yes.
Which I think is very important that the veteran community knows this. That we offer in-ground for casket, we offer in-ground for cremation, and then above ground for a columbarium. Yeah, you can probably hear the rifle shots in the background. That's a service that
volley.
we're conducting. Yes, and that's what we're talking about. Providing the honorable and dignified burial. That's
Absolutely.
That's an example of what we do here. So we offer the in-ground cremation, above-ground cremation. And we offer that, now when we're talking a little bit, and I want to talk about eligibility.
Yes.
And I think it's very important because I have a story to tell you.
Okay.
I was here for Memorial Day, and there was a husband and a wife that we were up at this very shelter talking, and he had relayed to me, he said, I love this cemetery, it's so beautiful, I love the way it's taken care of, but I'm not eligible to be buried here. And I said, well, when did you serve? He said, well, I served in the Air Force. I served 4 years, but I didn't go overseas. I just served up in North Dakota. I was an MP, and I checked the missile sites. And I said, well, were you discharged under honorable condition? He said, oh, of course I was. I said, then you're eligible.
Wow.
And his wife said, I told you so.
Oh, my.
But
wow.
there was the confusion because he thought that he had to have served in combat.
Right.
He had to have some sort of a disability. No, you have to be served on active duty, been honorably discharged, and you're eligible.
That's
it's that
wonderful.
simple. It's our eligibility is very. It's
I
not
bet
complicated.
he was thrilled when he heard that news, wasn't he?
He was. And what's so wonderful about it, not only is the veteran eligible, but the spouse is eligible also.
That's
and in some
fantastic,
cases, children, adult-dependent children, and children are eligible in some cases, depending on their age. So one of the things that we always talk about our eligibility, and of course our eligibility, we had talked a little bit before we started the interview, is originally in 1862, the only eligibility was for those that were killed in combat in the Civil War. And now it's expanded. It's growing to cover a lot of different individuals that were not eligible before.
Right.
So I always recommend that you talk to somebody before you make that decision and come to the conclusion that you're not eligible. Ask the questions. And we have a wonderful website, www.sem.va.gov.
Okay, we'll put that on the screen for you too. You'll get it.
Yeah, it gives a lot of information. Not only information about eligibility, because we just covered it briefly here.
Yeah.
There's a lot more to it. But one of the things about eligibility too that I don't want to forget is our National Guards and our reservists.
Oh, really? Okay.
And they, if you're retired from the reserves or the National Guard, you're eligible.
That's fantastic. They honor every veteran here. Every single veteran who's committed to serving our country is honored and welcome.
Absolutely.
That's fantastic to know.
And one of the things that is so wonderful about it is that all of this is at no cost to the veteran and the family.
Wonderful.
And the reason I want to mention that is because sometimes there is the belief that the non-veteran has to pay. How I best describe it, when you come through the gates of a national cemetery, the costs stop there.
Wow.
Anything outside the gate, between the funeral home and if you're the minister, that's something that the family will have to arrange. But anything inside, we'll open and close the gravesite. We'll provide a government liner for a casket burial. We'll provide a marker, if it's a headstone or a niche cover, if it's a columbarium, and we'll take care of the site forever and ever.
Wonderful. And I hate to do this. It's just whenever I hear taps, I think it's a little disrespectful not to just stop and wait for a second. So we're going to stop. We're going to finish the taps, and we'll be right back. And we're back. And that's just one example of the beautiful, moving, and very patriotic services that they have right here for our veterans. So thanks for waiting. But you were saying about all the different internments and those that are eligible. And did we cover the information? And there's the website you can go to or call to find out if you or someone that you know who is a veteran is eligible to be right here.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that we talk about, and we talked about the reserves and the National Guard,
Yes.
And one area that I just want to mention also is we had said that if you're retired, you're also, that if you're called to active duty by an executive order by the President of the United States, and you've served that term and you were served it honorably, you're eligible. So it's very important that, like as the Senator had indicated, that you ask those questions and make sure that you know if you are eligible. And so it's important to do that for sure.
Service is service and sacrifice is sacrifice. So it's good to know.
Absolutely.
It's very good to know.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, it's a wonderful benefit, and I know that I have run into families before and talking to them and explained what I do for the government, and they're surprised to learn that there's a national cemetery in the Pittsburgh area, which is something. This is why I welcome these opportunities. So anytime that we can get the word out, I mean, it's very important. So they missed the opportunity to take advantage of this benefit, and it's like I said, it's at no cost. No, but more so, money is one aspect, but it's being laid to rest with your brothers and sisters
Absolutely.
that you've served. I mean, that's really, to me, is the most important thing.
And to be remembered at every single service that you have throughout the whole year.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. I know you had mentioned our services. I know we have daily, Monday through Friday, we have internment services. But we also have 3 major ceremonies throughout the year. And we have Veterans Day that's coming up in November 11th, 11 a.m. We have the ceremony here. We have Memorial Day, which we don't do our services on Memorial Day, we do them on a Sunday. The reason we do that is so we don't interfere with the communities, because there's a lot of communities that, and one thing about Western Pennsylvania is that they're very patriotic.
Absolutely.
They
absolutely, yes.
They absolutely acknowledge and respect their veterans. And so we have, and the third ceremony that we have here is Wreaths Across America, which is our biggest ceremony. And I know, Senator, you've been here a couple of times and have been involved in our ceremony. In fact, I remember the last ceremony where you helped that lady.
Oh, yeah, She just lost her dad, who was a World War II veteran, 95 years old. And she wasn't, in great physical condition, and she needed some help to put the wreath on her father's tombstone. And so she actually put out a Facebook request, and I saw it. I said, oh, yeah. So I came and I was able to get that wreath up there to her dad's resting place. And he'd only been interned for about 8 weeks, I think. He had just recently passed, so it was wonderful to be able to have the opportunity to put that there. But every single grave in this cemetery had a wreath on it for Christmas.
Right. And
every single one of them.
Right. And last year was our first year that was accomplished, which was...
That's tremendous.
Oh, it's just an example of just the outpouring of support and volunteerism that we have at the National... And I know you recall, Senator, we had over 4,000 people at this event.
It was remarkable. It was amazing. And you have the Blue Knights that come and they do the colors, and God bless the VFW folks, and they they carry the flags, and it just really is a moving experience to see all of these thousands of volunteers come and pick up these wreaths and make sure every single solitary grave has a wreath on it for Christmas, and each one of them who lays the wreath says a little prayer, says a few words in remembrance,
Right.
and they read the stone, and they know the story, and they know the individual. It's really amazing.
Right. And just to add on to that, one of the things that we've tried to do at the cemetery over the years is bring the youth in.
Right.
And we have some local high school, Canada McMillan High School, and our honor guards have come from the Young Marines, the Civil Air Patrol, Penn Hills Junior Naval ROTC, and then our Army from I believe West Seneca. So there are a lot of people being involved. The young people.
Yep.
So they can learn about the sacrifice of the veterans and what it means,
Absolutely.
why we have our freedoms today, and why we can stand here and talk.
Absolutely, and yeah, freedom of everything because of the brave.
Right.
Right.
So it's very important. So that's our three. We do have other ceremonies that are usually like when we have a memorial walk that's right over here to your right. When we have dedication ceremonies, when various organizations will donate a memorial stone, we'll have a dedication ceremony. That's usually smaller in nature, but it's still the same respect and honor.
Great. So tell me, we hear some construction going on here as well.
Right.
So can you tell me what's happening at the entrance over on this side?
Absolutely. It kind of goes back to what I was mentioning earlier about honoring our commitment to serve our veterans. The Department of Veteran Affairs is continually looking for opportunities to expand access to the veterans. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. But locally here, we are having a expansion project to install pre-placed crypts. And pre-placed crypts, to anybody that doesn't know what a pre-placed crypt is, some people call them lawn crypts. They're basically, we just remove soil. We go down about 8 feet. We do a concrete base and a drainage field, and then we start placing concrete boxes next to each other. And then we cover that with soil. So then in the future when we do our burials, it's just an easier way to access the burial site.
Right.
And really one of the most significant parts of it, that's a 3x8 site, a 3 foot by 8 foot site. And the reason that's important, years ago, we used to have sections that were 6 by 10.
Oh, okay.
So how much more land can we utilize for burial space? So when tax dollars are spent, it's just better utilized. So we can extend the life of a cemetery many more years by doing this.
Sure.
And as we were talking earlier, years ago we didn't have our many excavators and our backhoes, and everything was done by hand. Now we can. That process has changed.
Right.
So we just become more efficient and use better use of the land.
Right.
So that's one construction project. So we're going to add about 2,800 burial sites in that section. And then over on the front part of the cemetery, we're installing 2,000 in-ground cremation sites.
Oh, okay.
So that's
2,000.
hopefully these projects will all be finished up early next spring.
Okay.
Then in FY17, which starts now, hopefully next year we're going to have a project to expand our columbarium.
Explain what that is.
Well, our columbarium is for above ground cremation. It's a niche. It's about 10 by 12 inches by 20 inches deep. It's for urns. So we're going to expand the footprint of our current columbarium out. And again, so we can continue offer that burial option for the families. And then in FY18, we are hoping, of course this is all depend on funding and design, we are hoping to add more burial sites. We're hoping to add a cold storage building and do some improvement in our signage, improve our road system, electrical upgrades, those type of things. So, and then the last thing that I want to mention is, as far as the National Cemetery in the Alleghenies, is we're having the Pennsylvania Turnpike Commission, and that construction is supposed to start in the near future.
Okay.
Definite date hasn't been signed yet, but that'll come north of our property. It's not going to affect any of our burials or our land per se.
The Southern Beltway that you're talking about.
Right.
Is right.
Right. Southern Beltway. Did I misspeak?
No, you didn't.
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
It's just what
The
we're
southern,
calling it.
so
Yeah.
that will be the Southern Beltway will be coming, but it'll be just north of our property, so it's not going to affect us, except for access to the cemetery, because some roads will be, there'll be detours and things like that, but we'll work with the funeral directors and the public to make sure that they're informed of those things.
Well, it is such a blessing to have a national cemetery right here in Washington County, because as many people know, across all of Pennsylvania, we've got nearly 1 million veterans right now. And in Washington County alone, we have probably got, I think, the second largest group of veterans that live in Washington County in all of Pennsylvania. It's a huge group of very, very dedicated, wonderful servicemen and women. We owe it to them to respect them and give them all of our thanks, our gratitude, and our honor while they're here with us and after they're not.
Well, yeah. Senator, one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about is our volunteers. One of the most valuable assets that we have at the cemetery are our volunteers that help us with many different functions. They help us in our office, down in our Public Information Center, and at the ceremonies that we talked about earlier, on Veterans Day, Memorial Day, and Wreaths Across America. And I just want to say, we simply couldn't do what we do here without our volunteers.
Great, and this is George?
This is George Wiggins.
Glad to meet you.
Great to meet you.
Who has been a
Thanks so
volunteer
much.
here for forever.
Yeah,
Well, 2010.
Wow, okay,
2010.
My goodness.
But, yeah. Are you done?
So and what made you want to be a volunteer?
I just like the idea to be able to give back to the veterans. It's a nice feeling when somebody comes in and fortunately you don't get that often, but somebody will come in and say, I don't have anything, my wife just died, can you help? And we're able to, because you ask, are you a veteran?
Yeah.
And they say yes, and they'll say, and they say, how can I help you? And that's when we can step in and help them.
It's wonderful.
And it's a nice program. It's a lovely program to do it so many times. And then that new program with the missing, the MIAP program that came up, and a lot of veterans are being taken care of that weren't being taken care of at that time. Now they're able to, and it's a great feeling that you're able to get them one of these things. And, their husband, wife, dependent children at times. So it's a great program.
I was here for several ceremonies over the last couple of years, but last year in particular, the Wreaths Across America service that was here, and Ron was telling us there were 4,000 volunteers that came that day.
At least.
So and I know too that there's a way that people can donate to the Wreaths Across America program, and their donation will help provide a wreath for a veteran's grave. So can you tell us a little bit about that and how organizing that gigantic operation every year?
Their program, Wreaths Across America, and you can donate to it. You go wreathacrossamerica.org.
Correct.
And you have to designate, you look for our cemetery.
Good to know.
And then you go on there and push a button and how many you want, and there's several organizations that'll buy 200-300 and then they that way, but it's a great organization. As far as it's their program, of course you've been speaking in the last couple of years.
Well,
because some of the older gentlemen that were running it have moved on, and so it helps, and it's nice that we're able to continue, and people look so forward to it.
Yeah.
Right.
That's wonderful.
And that's correct. And George, you're right. And there's another thing that I'm glad that you brought that up, is there is some confusion. They think that the Wreaths Across America is run by the Department of Veteran Affairs. We host the event because we're the cemetery. It's actually run by the wreathsacrossamerica.org, and they are who you have to purchase the wreaths for. We don't have anything to do with the wreaths except that we happen to be fortunate to be here to serve our veterans and then host the ceremony. So
Yeah.
And that
it-
program has I mean, it's usually all at the same hour on
Oh.
the same day across
yes.
the whole United States, all these different
Yeah.
groups and different
Correct.
cemeteries. But it's great to know that you can go on that website and donate specifically to this cemetery.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's good
the
information.
nice part.
Yeah.
Of course, we do get involved at when you have to unload them.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
That's a big project.
You have several the different groups.
And then once again, that's where the volunteers come
yeah,
in.
there's
Exactly.
the
More volunteers. that
Patriot
help.
Riders are
Correct.
very good about
Right.
coming and volunteering.
And how
because
about all of the
there's-
flags that appear up
Yeah,
the
again,
roads
the
the whole
different
time?
people. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
right.
Well, and that's our Avenue of Flags.
Yes, it's beautiful.
Right, and
Yeah.
and again, that's another volunteer.
Yeah.
We couldn't have, we could not have an Avenue of Flags without the volunteers. It was donated funds, and the flags are actual burial flags or donated flags from the veteran service organizations that we fly on 100 flagpoles.
Oh,
So it's another.
it's really spectacular when
Yeah.
you drive up and see
right.
that.
And we usually do that at Veterans Day and Memorial Day.
Yes, yeah. So how many volunteers do you have?
Well, we have around 40 that are
Okay.
volunteer on a regular basis.
Okay.
But we literally have thousands that volunteer throughout the year at the events that we talked about. And the volunteer includes, like George had mentioned, our Patriot Guard riders, American Legion riders, etc. There's a lot of folks that will come in and volunteer, not on a regular day-to-day basis, but when the events are here, they're here to help out.
So Ron, I can't thank you enough for giving us a bit of a tour here and telling us a lot of good information. But before we wrap up, what is it that we can tell people who are viewing right now who may have never thought that they'd be eligible to come to a place like this?
Well, one of the things that we recommend is very important is pre-planning. Locate your documents, talk to your loved ones, and go to the funeral home of your choice. And go talk to them, bring your documents to them, so that way you don't leave your family trying to make those decisions for you. Do it in advance. And I want to thank you and your staff very much for doing this and getting the word out to the veterans, and most importantly, your support for the veterans in the community. Thank you very much.
Always. Well, thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
And you can get more information by going to their website or going to our website for another link. Thanks again.
Again, thanks a lot, Senator. I appreciate it. Thank you.